own legend. This is my path.
How may I help?
Ona Adayana. Ona Adayana. Ona Adayana. Aboran Center.
The end draws near.
Dio, Wallash, Antio, Wallash, Antio, Wallash, Antio, Wallash, Antio, Wallash, Tea, Ormos, Ala, Soa, Taya, 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 Ala, Soa, Taya.
A reckoning is at hand. Together we are unstoppable.
Wallash, na, ea, orama, na, ea, orama, na, ea, orama,
Tio, Wallash, Antio, Wallash,
What's the holdup?
Yes, I'm still here.
Pretty! Pretty!
Pretty. Share your troubles.
You can count on me.
I stand ready.
Something bothering you?
I'll make my own legend.
T. Gone.
Oh, sorry. Was lost in thought.
I'm listening.
Grotus awaits us.
Yes.
Here! Ready and willing.
Pretty!
hiding behind masks, eldest? Isn't it time you cast them away?
Words, words. How little value we attach to them, and how much they truly mean. But I've grown tired of words and prophecies. I will no longer predict chaos and death. Instead, I will show them to you, myself.
Oh yes, the time has come! The time of fate and curses!
Who will prevail? Does it matter? Repent!
Let us strike as one! Justice! Revolt!
We can do it!
You don't seem to like my curses! Maybe I like myself better?
Their side.
Repent!
Do not falter!
See what your entrails look like.
Onward!
Show me your heart.
the hour of hunt and chaos.
Stay behind me!
Strike with all your might! We won't falter! Forwards!
You forced my hand.
Let us strike as one!
We can do it! Strike with all your might!
Do not falter!
Die for me.
We won't falter!
What your entrails like. Bleed for me.
This is for you! I'll fight if I have to!
Enough. Time for masks is over. You risk challenging an eldest, and I accept the challenge. You will fight not a mere embodiment, but my true essence. This is my essence. I don't need magic or servile monsters to destroy you. Words are enough. Yes, words. I once told you, words spoken in the right time and place possess the power of the storm. You lightheartedly answer that you know what your power and essence are. The desire to help people whose grief touches you. I remember your answer. The world remembers it too. Your answer, your heart, your essence. Now, cursed king, I'm taking this part of your soul, as I took away Nerissa's ability to love. What you called your essence is yours no more. Let us continue. We both wear a crown. But what are you on? A meager patch of land, a few thousand souls? My dominion is chaos and magic, madness and deceit. Your power is nothing compared to mine. And that is why you are helpless before me. You will take my every blow as a divine punishment, as something imminent. You would insult me with this. This! I'm curious what you think of me, cursed king. Do you see me as a villain, or a simple joker? In truth, well, everyone can see the truth. Being an eldest means being one of the many strings that hold the world in place. Being an eldest means being such a vast and self-sufficient value that one's equals become strangers and one's inferiors are entirely insignificant. I am an eldest. Laughter, guile, transformation, that's what I am. And I will let you feel a modicum of my loneliness. I will take away your pillar of strength. Good. You can play with words. Let us see if you can withstand the heat of my fire.
I shall end this suffering on their side.
Forwards!
don't remember sensing for a dozen millennia. But what's next? How will you end this story? Listen, I know. Elegant and refined. The hero defeats a deity in battle. Impressive, it grants the victor power and immortality. The hero enters the chambers of the deity to become his champion and herald. Eternal, powerful, equally glorified both in the first world and in Valeria. His kingdom healed from its wounds and flourished under the rule of the immortal champion. A beautiful ending, isn't it? And this legend is yours for the asking.
Trust the laughing lie. Don't do this. Not after everything you and I have endured because of him. I can give you immortality and power, though not as much as the Lantern Kings. Perhaps we won't be able to stand against the Eldest, but accept my gift and my patronage. And together we will make him pay for what he's done.
How sad it is to hear you, Nyrissa. Thousands of years for nothing! You haven't learned a single lesson. Never learned to atone. But what do you say? That is easy. I will return your kingdom to Galarian and strengthen its connection to the First World. In their homeland, the Fae can endlessly return to life. I will give to you the same gift. So long as you remain an enclave of the First World, death within its borders will never threaten you. As for the prize, I'm not offering you the position of a servant. Believe it or not, I am lonely. Divine power and immortality are a heavy burden. To accept it means losing all your friends and companions. You can find allies and reliable assistance. This is what I'm looking for. A herald and a general with whom I can share eternity, and together we'll play 1,000 wonderful pranks and spread our power across the First World and further. Much further. What do you think? I can let my misguided protege go wherever she likes. Knowing her, I'm doubtful she will become a humble exile.
I won't. I've come too far to go back. It might take me 1,000 years and thousands of deaths, but I will find a way to get back at you, Eldest. Even if he betrays our alliance and becomes your puppet.
So be it. This performance has run its course. It would be unwise to continue. Besides, I have no love of dying, returning to life. My fellow Eldest are very good at playing especially intricate pranks at that exact moment. You were cursed by my will. By my will, you are now free from the curse. May the shackles be broken, fetters be loosened. What's been stolen will be returned. What's been divided will be made whole again. I say farewell, and release your kingdom from material play. Go, be glad of your ordinary mortal life. Forget the gods of the First World. Now they no longer concern you.
Now that the Eldest and other spiteful beings wouldn't be bothering us, the king returned to his subjects and celebrated the victory and the end of the kingdom's miseries with great fanfare. Everything gradually returned to normal, including our exciting lives. Not always peaceful, but also not troubled by invasions from another world. And little by little, our heroes and the common folk began to forget the sorrows of the past. Sometimes, on clear spring nights, the king saw dreams. In them, the nymph Nyrissa, fierce and wounded, battled the Jabberwock, died, and returned to life, again, and again, and again. Under the wise leadership of the king, the stolen lands became a true country. There was still much to be done, of course, and some of it will need to be finished by our heroes' descendants. But there are no longer cut purses on every corner, and the peasants aren't afraid some new self-proclaimed chief will show up and strong-arm himself into power. The feud between Brevois North and South, which had been smoldering for ages, never sparked the fires of civil war. Through great effort, our king managed to bring both parties to the negotiating table. While Rostland didn't gain its independence, it did receive wide autonomy rights. Our relationships with both House Sertova and the Sword Lords are respectful, but they've become lukewarm. Because of us, neither side got everything they wanted. Taking advantage of the tension in his homeland, the restless, unlucky trader Lander Lebeda abandoned his domain again and set off to attempt another scam. Our kingdom, along with Brevois, actually proposed to celebrate the day he disappeared as a national holiday. But the initiative was shot down by the vigorous protests of House Lebeda. Led by careful, level-headed Dugoth, the Tiger Lord's tribe reunited and started to lick the wounds left by the erratic Armagh. Little by little, they once again became one of the strongest mercenary armies in the region. Dugoth always assured our king of his friendship, but the king always stayed on his toes, understanding that anything could happen when that old fox is around. Pitax almost returned to its former state, a joyful city filled with beers of dubious quality and deals of questionable legality. The old trade houses lost the crown, but they retrieved the property Irivetti had taken from them. Soon, Pitax became almost like a second capital in the kingdom, a thriving city through which rivers of money from across the region ran. Unfortunately, we get much less of this money than we would like. Governor Liachenza turned out to be helpless against widespread embezzlement. The dangerous man-eating trolls disappeared entirely from the forests and swamps of the stolen lands. Kobolds, though, being sneaky and clever, are still sometimes met by travelers and hunters who wander off the beaten track. Some even say the short reptiles still praise the great King Tartuk, but no one knows for certain. As soon as anyone approaches the kobolds, they forget their military honor and turn tail. After enduring so many storms and troubles, Varnhold eventually turned into a real city. Daring settlers decided to conquer the vast, wild expanses of Dunsword, and despite all odds, they succeeded. The modest colony that almost vanished at the hands of an ancient lich turned everything around to become a thriving city with lively river trading. Agay, the Spriggan leader, learned a valuable lesson after surviving his meeting with the king and even regaining his tribe's home. Don't try to occupy seemingly empty settlements anymore. Instead, the Spriggans settled across Dunsword's wild borderlands and proclaimed it as their domain. Keeping the peace in a situation like that seems like the stuff of dreams, as evidenced by the occasional lost patrols and stolen cattle. Peace reigns in the caves beneath the old sycamore. The kobolds and mites continue to explore the depths and learn simple crafts from each other. Rumor has it, the first mite kobold wedding even happened not long ago. That said, settlers still aren't rushing to build new homes in the area. Some kind souls even put up warning signs along the roads. Beware, traveler. Steer clear of the old sycamore. Another inscription soon appeared over the sign though. No keep going treasure ahead honest. Oleg's trading post continues to thrive, attracting even more travelers. Much to its owner's displeasure, a small town is springing up around it. Despite Oleg's grumbling, he and his wife are well regarded by everyone, and Svetlana was even elected town chief. Jod remained loyal to the king to the end of his days, healing the sick and generously sharing his austere wisdom with anyone who wished to hear it, and some who didn't. Having fulfilled his duty to the ruler, Erastel's priest peacefully departed this world, surrounded by friends and disciples. The Fae took a fancy to the kingdom, feeling totally at home here. They often play various pranks, but they never do any serious harm. Falcos and Teresia managed to restore the magic forest. Once freed of the anger of the Scythe Tree, people returned to the abandoned village, and it became a haven of friendship between the Fae and ordinary people, just like old times. The lizard folk of the Longtail tribe returned to live on the shores of Candlemere, but they couldn't return to their ancient way of life. Living alongside people, the lizard folk adopted their behaviors, habits, and even religion. More and more of the Longtail tribe pray not to the spirits of their ancestors, but to Erastil or Gorum. They even began to forget their original language. I hope someone writes down their songs and legends before they all sink into oblivion. Evindra was glad to see the Lantern King's plans turn to dust. She spent some time helping restore the kingdom after the calamity, then returned home to the First World. They say the rebellious spirit of her cousin Nyrissa awoke within her as well. Evindra is said to recount their story to the Fae, encouraging them to question the power and might of the eldest. After the victory, the storyteller abandoned his affairs and began spending a lot of time alone in contemplation. He eventually bid farewell to the king and left his lands, but I suspect the inhabitants of Galarian haven't heard the last of this mysterious traveler, for his own story is hardly finished. Amiri remained a pariah to her native tribe, but she stayed close friends with Nylak, who ruled the Six Bears wisely and taught them to survive in the unfamiliar plains and cities. The restless barbarian would often travel for long stretches of time, but sooner or later she would always return to her old friends, bragging about new scars and recounting new feats, many of which Nylak immortalized in song. Harren became famous, respected by dwarves throughout our kingdom as well as our neighbors, even as far as the Five Kings Mountains. He's often been asked to help out or teach others, and he's never denied anyone, despite his grumbling. Some people even listen to his preaching. Lucky for us, there's a lot less howling about the end of the world now, and more wise words of moderation and humility. Not all of his disciples turned to Grotus, but everyone took away something useful from his teachings. Octavia didn't stay still for very long. Soon, she and Reg went to Numeria and started a huge slave rebellion there. They didn't manage to destroy the Technic League, but to this day, slaves speak their names with admiration, and slavers with terror. Over the course of their journey, the two grew as close as ever, leaving their quarrels and resentments behind. After returning from Numeria, Octavia settled in her mother's house and became the king's advisor and loyal companion. Rigangar left for Numeria with Octavia to start a slave rebellion. Over the journey, he really matured and learned to understand others, as well as how to control his anger. After he returned, he took a position in the king's court. Being both formidable and charming, he inspired fear in the hearts of some and lust in others. There are even some rumors that he almost talked Octavia into marrying him, and possibly even continuing the Della Fiorni line. Once the war was over, Tristan kept his promise to Sarenrae. In the middle of celebrating the king's victory, the priest suddenly disappeared in a flash of light, vanishing forever. I hope Sarenrae didn't take the Movonic Deva's memory, so her servant might still remember us and the stolen lands. Or if she did, I hope he was at least able to forget everything about the lands in which he endured so much suffering. After the war ended, Ekin hung up his bow on the wall and traded the path of the ranger in for the craft of the carpenter. It may not be the most heroic ending to a tragic story like his, but as Torag is my witness, Ekin's happy with it, as is Alina, who became his wife and is bearing his child. Any baby born into this family will be pretty lucky, since the king himself still visits his old friend and will likely become the child's patron. Jubilost returned to the life of a traveling explorer, frequently visiting his favorite kingdom. He said so himself. His famous work studying the First World all opened with a dedication to his longtime companion, the King. Another name was also mentioned, 2Z, my guide and inspiration. Admirers would ask Jubilost many times about this mystery lady, but he would only chuckle, hitch his knapsack on his shoulder, and return to storm the vast expanses of the First World once again. The King and Valerie stayed together, lovers and companions, bound not only by love, but by common duty. The amazing union underlies dozens of ballads and poems written by delighted subjects and echoed all throughout Aveston. There's more fiction than truth in those poems, of course. Our hero and his beloved keep their relationship well behind closed doors. The only thing kept in the chronicles in the truest detail is the grand royal wedding. Valerie became a worthy and honest ruler, like anyone doubted she would. And while their subjects can't wait for an heir, the beautiful royal couple seems to be in no hurry to continue their lineage. As for myself, the author of this book, Lindsay, who never chose a pretty nickname, I'm still here, inside my creation, within the Capitol Library. I live just like I always dreamed, surrounded by people and books, and not a day goes by without someone turning my pages. My story inspired many others to take up the quill. My readers have written many beautiful books and poems, transporting prisoners of humdrum lives into worlds of endless fantasy. What more could I dream of? I hope, oh honored reader, that this story inspired some creativity in you, or at least offered some entertainment. In any case, it's time to set the final period.